Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen here with a quick update for you. We'll have this warm sunshine last just a little bit longer, but the storm system that's coming in here this afternoon will certainly impact the entire state of Colorado in different ways. So let's take a look out there right now. You still see some of those blue skies, clouds starting to appear over the mountains, and that's just the first indication that the storm system is inbound, and we'll start to see wind first, wind and clouds here on the Front Range, then snow in the mountains, and then eventually some rain down here in the Denver metro area and the rest of the Front Range. So it's already up to 70 degrees, so we have another 70-degree day on our hands here for Monday. That will probably rise maybe a few more degrees before the clouds get a little bit too thick, and we actually will get a cold front that'll slide through the area later on this afternoon, and that'll really start to shake things up. It'll be pretty noticeable with the winds starting to shift and increase in our area. Here's the timeline for the Denver forecast today. Maybe squeeze another degree or two out here before 1, 2 o'clock, before that system kind of moves in here. You'll notice the winds pick up in the Denver area and the Front Range about 3 o'clock. Could be pretty gusty there, 20 to 30 mile per hour winds around 3 p.m. And then the clouds come in. The winds could even last here till about 5 o'clock before we could see a few showers early on. And what I mean by early on is probably the 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock window. And you'll see them in the area, but it'll be like the last couple of days when we saw the clouds develop. You'll actually see the rain falling out of the clouds, but not reaching the ground because of dry air and evaporative winds below. So we may not actually get any precipitation on the ground tonight until maybe after midnight, and that is when we'll get a couple of rounds of potentially heavier snow or heavier rain here in the Denver metro area and the Front Range that could impact us all the way through the early morning hours tomorrow, and it'll be snow in the mountains. The forecast highs for today, we've still got a few more hours to go before we reach those high temperatures, so I think maybe 73 would be a good bet for the Denver metro area, maybe just a tad warmer to the north. Eastern Plains still will be out of reach of that initial blast of cold air, so they could get up into the upper 80s still today before we see the impact of this storm. And our mountain areas are already starting to see some of those changes with the winds, clouds building, and they'll start to get some precipitation, mixed precipitation in areas tonight, switching to snow accumulation later on this evening when mostly when the snow goes down. So we look at the 70 degrees in Denver still. So we have the critical wildfire risk is the most imminent thing, and what's happening right now. And you can see almost the entire eastern half of the state of Colorado is covered with fire weather warnings, or red flag warnings as they are also called. Wind gusts between 30 and 55 miles per hour, could even hit 60 miles per hour in some locations today. And those gusts will be a little bit more consistent and persistent down in the southeast part of the state. Humidity incredibly low, down to almost 5%. So you almost can't get too much drier than that. So those are some pretty legit, and actually there is a difference between elevated wildfire risk when it comes to fire weather and critical, and we are in the critical today. So the last few days have been elevated, now we're into critical, just to give you an idea of how much more substantial the wildfire risk is for today. And that will finally come to an end as this storm system starts to take hold going into the rest of this week. Here's the wind gust forecast. There is also a high wind warning associated with the red flag warning areas, and it also includes Larimer County and parts of Weld County. So Fort Collins and Greeley included in that high wind warning. Potentially could see some wind gusts in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range up in that area today. This computer forecast model not showing those substantial gusts, but these are just hourly peaks, so it could be in between those areas. and it could also be just outside of the metro areas where the location of this, the pinpoint location of that number comes from. So you might have a 29 mile per hour gust in Greeley and a 60 mile per hour gust just up to the northeast part of the Pawnee National Grasslands. So the winds are kicking up already in parts of the foothills and the high country as that storm system moves in. Here's the winter weather alerts, which will go into effect at 3 p.m. today and last till 3 p.m. tomorrow. So that will be the bulk of the high impact part of this winter part of the storm, where we can expect snow accumulation to start happening on our high mountain passes by 3 p.m. today. Looking at, I could see several of our mountain passes, especially to the north, getting a foot of snow out of this storm system tonight into tomorrow morning. So even Vail Pass, Loveland Pass, the Eisenhower Johnson tunnels, Berthoud Pass, all in that zone where we could see a foot of snow. So that's high impact even for any time of year, but especially as we wind down the season. So those are your winter weather alerts. Here's a look at the computer forecast model showing some of the expectations. You can kind of see the heavier snow kind of focused towards the northern part of our state. Still going to see some snow down to the south, but I think along the I-70 mountain corridor and to the north is we'll see the focal point of this storm. I can see some of our mountain towns getting anywhere between 5 and 8 inches, and some of the higher mountain towns and higher and more north, like Winter Park, could get a foot of snow. So we'll see snow accumulation in the mountain towns, as well as some significant snow up on the high mountain passes as we're driving through the high country. Here's a quick look at the computer forecast model to show the timing of that. You see the storm system swirling in there. By about 5:30, we'll start to see the snow accumulation, especially along I-70 and parts to the north. Could be very heavy at times, so even if it's not accumulating on the road yet, you can be impacted by visibility issues with that heavy snow. All the way through 1:30 p.m. here we are, even showing those rain showers down in the metro at this time. I'll focus in a little bit on the front range here in just a second, but we'll focus on the snow with this computer model going all the way till 10 a.m. tomorrow. Still batches of heavy snow along the I-70 mountain corridor and mostly parts to the north, and then finally it swirls on out of there, and by about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock tomorrow is when the snow will stop in the high country, and we'll be left with that anywhere between 6 and 18 inches in some of those higher areas. So what does that mean for the front range? Let's take you through that computer model focused in just a little bit closer here, starting at 11 a.m. on Monday. You see that storm system as it starts to impact the mountains there at 3:30. We start to see the cloud cover come in. Wind gusts, you can see those yellow wind gust markers starting to fill in a little bit in the area. So we'll see the winds and the clouds increase as we go through the afternoon hours, especially late afternoon. And here we are at 8 p.m. tonight, and the computer forecast model showing those rain showers starting to develop in the Denver area. Probably not too impactful at first because we have that dry air in place, and we also have winds coming over the mountains and down sloping into the Denver metro area, and that will kind of decompress the air pressure and actually cause a little bit of warming to the air and drying. So it'll be difficult for that rain to actually reach the ground at first. And then as we go into the nighttime hours, here we are at 11 p.m. You can see that we don't have a full coverage of that rain yet. So I would expect that it will be after midnight. So we're looking at from midnight until about 10 a.m. tomorrow, where we'll have the opportunity to pick up some pretty substantial rain at some point. Or maybe 2 different waves as we go through the nighttime hours, maybe totaling anywhere between 1/10 to 1/4 inch of rain. So nothing, when I say significant, nothing like we saw last April, May, and June. So at least not yet. This is a fairly low impact. And here's I want to show you the jet stream here. That kind of circular spinning feature there is the storm system that will move across the state of Colorado today into Tuesday. And then you've been looking at your smartphone apps and seeing some raindrops and some cooler air over the rest of the week here, and that's because of that storm system up to the north. And this solution has been pretty consistent, where it shows the low pressure system very strong and organized, but well to our north. So what that means for us when we come into this area, especially northern Colorado, stays under the jet stream, so we do have a little bit of instability in our air because of that, and then it pushes several cold fronts down towards the bottom of this low pressure system as it spins across the area to our north. So we could get 2, maybe 3 cold fronts in total from that storm system after the Monday-Tuesday storm system. There's not a lot of moisture in there, and we are pretty far away from the bulk of the energy, so I wouldn't expect those cold fronts to be too impactful. But because of that, we'll have to leave those rain and mixed rain and snow chances at least in the forecast, although they could end up being very isolated. Once Tuesday morning, probably the best shot of getting widespread moisture, and then as we go into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that is when I think our little graphic disappeared there, but I'll bring that back for you. You can see just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, into at least Saturday morning, we'll keep those just very isolated rain chances and possibly rain-snow mix, because you see the temperatures down there in the low 30s, so we could get a mix. Wouldn't expect any accumulation of snow out of this, especially in the lower main bulk of the Denver metro area and along the urban front range I-25 corridor. So that's kind of why you see the cooler temperatures and the raindrops and rain mix snowdrops in there. It looks a little daunting because there's so many of them, but I think it'll end up being overall pretty low impact after this Tuesday system moves through. And then you'll see as we go into the later part of Sunday into Monday, we start just a little bit of a rebound, but I will tell you the jet stream does appear to be staying somewhat active. So we may see another week like this where we see middle to upper 70s and 80s, and then another batch of rain showers and cold fronts, kind of like this one. So hopefully that helps you with your planning and gives you a little bit of idea about what the forecast holds for us. So thanks for watching and have a great Monday.